Hi guys, it's occurred to me that it's been a while since I've done a video like this, and I haven't actually done one for my GBB. Now that he's a mature male, I don't really have that much time. Sadly, I've not been able to find him a female, and it's a shame he's going to waste. He's made his third sperm web and keeps spilling his water dish as well. But they always do that, don't they? Aries was a bit of an experiment for me. I wanted to see if I could actually handle, literally and figuratively, a tarantula that was actually known for being very fast. Turns out my GBB is not really that fast. He can be when he wants to be. He's lightning quick when it comes to feeding, even now. He is getting on a bit, I'm afraid. I don't know how long it's been now since he molted. But like I said, he's done his third sperm web that I'm aware of. And originally I actually didn't want to have a GBB. I've heard many people talk about them, how awesome they are, but at the time I just thought they were too spindly. I mean, the colours were gorgeous. Just look at him. He's a stunning little guy. But yeah, too spindly. So, for a long time I didn't bother buying one of these. And then I thought, well, I'm going to be moving on to pokies and other old worlds at some point. I don't know when, but it's bound to happen eventually, isn't it? Because I'd like to have an OBT. Yeah. I picked him up, and ever since I had him as a sling, I just adored him straight away. I never thought I'd actually like having a mature male, or indeed a male tarantula in general. But he's actually a really sweet little tarantula. Or at least as sweet as a tarantula can be, I suppose. He's not aggressive towards me. He's not defensive. He's easily handled. But like with Scarlet, I show him respect, and I actually put my hand out in front of him when he's about to walk, like I did a minute ago. I let him come to me. Sometimes he'll just turn around, other times he won't. I've noticed that it's actually it's a good way to actually stop them from climbing around so much. Typically after molting, Scarlet likes to climb her tank all the time. But if I just put my hand in front of her and let her walk around in my hand for about 5 minutes or so, I put her back in a tank and she'll just sit there. She doesn't even groom most of the time. She grooms a few times though. She does like to clean herself. So yes, Aries was a test to see how well I can raise a spiderling, much like Anubis is, who, by the way, is doing really well. But yeah, Aries was a test to see if I can handle a tarantula that's faster than the average, and to see if I can actually provide for one that likes to climb a lot. These guys are semi-arboreal, so I'm reasonably confident I can actually provide for an arboreal tarantula. But with my job actually keeping me away from home most of the time, it's not really fair on my brother to actually expect him to do maintenance on a potentially aggressive spider. He's not really fond of tarantulas, to be honest with you. He doesn't mind watering them, but if you get something like an OBT that just tries to rip your face off, then that's going to be a little problematic for him. So until my work situation improves and I find some place that allows me to be home every day, I can't get a, shall we say, more advanced species. I'm just lucky that these guys like it dry. Otherwise, it could be a bit of an issue. You can just make out his tibial hooks, and of course you can see his bulbous pedipalps. Absolutely love the shade of green. I'm still amazed he's got his tiger rump. Most GBBs I've seen that reach maturity don't have that. In fact, most GBBs lose their tiger rump altogether before they're mature. It's really surprising for me. I doubt it's actually that uncommon. But it's still nice to see. Obviously it doesn't stand out as much as it did when he was a spiderling. Where you going, mister? Huh? Are you going for a walk? Oh, he's a cute little guy, isn't he? Oh, there you go. It's your home, you muppet. What are you freaking out for? Okay, this is going to be interesting. Good boy. I've heard some people say that GBBs cannot be handled because they're too fast, unpredictable, so on and so forth. Well, mine isn't. Which I'm happy to say. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same for any tarantula, really. If you treat them with respect and you let them come to you, the handling will go fine. It's only if you try to pick them up against their will. They don't like that, which is understandable. Even my giant white knee didn't object to handling when I did it by her terms. So if you insist on handling your tarantulas, show them some respect and let them come to you. Unless you absolutely have to pick them up. I love this little guy. I was sad when he turned out to be a male, and even more sad when he matured out a few months ago. But I don't let that take away the experience of owning him. He might be a mature male now, but he is still a friendly tarantula, and I use that word as loosely as possible. Maybe it's more accurate to say he's an agreeable tarantula. Almost the polar opposite of Pepper, who is the most defensive curly hair I have ever seen. And if you have ever seen a curly hair go into threat postures as much as Pepper does, and over the slightest thing, it could be something as daft as picking up a bolus. I know she's just defending her territory, which is understandable for her. And it's this behaviour that leads me to think that maybe she's wild caught. But I can get into that later. This video is about Aries. So, it's not feeding day, so I won't be including any crickets in this video. But then again, I could be tempted to do a feeding video later on. It's It's been a while since I did one. Well, a proper feeding video featuring all the tarantulas, that is. So yeah, originally I didn't think much of this species. Nice colour, but that was about it, because they were too spindly. My opinion on that has changed. And anybody that's looking for a tarantula that's not a pet hole or a pet rock, likes to climb, does an insane amount of webbing, I would definitely recommend a GBB. It'll give you an idea of what to expect when you move on to a more advanced species, like say a pokey. And by that I mean dealing with a tarantula that is very fast. Granted, Aries takes his time there. He's not... I don't think he's ever really been much of a teleporter. But he does have his moments. But yeah, so GBB would be a good way to actually get a feel for an arboreal. Obviously you'll need to work on humidity and temperature and all that jazz. Yes, I said the word jazz. Forgive me, I'm a dork. Suppose I'll let this little guy in peace now. And let him do what male tarantulas do, which is wander around aimlessly. Well, surprisingly, he hasn't done any tapping. I mean, there are two huge females nearby, that being Scarlet and Pepper. I would have thought that would actually set him off, but it hasn't. So maybe they respond to only pheromones of a specific species, which to me is actually quite interesting. I mean, one would assume that a male spider finds the pheromones of a female and just immediately starts drumming. But what if they only respond to specific pheromones? Well, maybe not always. There are cases of crossbreeding even in the wild. But I think that's more within the genus. If they're in the same genus, then they'll have similar pheromones. I don't know. I'm no expert on these animals. Far from it. I'm just a nerd that likes spiders. It would have been more accurate to say geek. Yeah. I don't think it matters really. Oh, thanks for watching. And yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a feeding video soon. Right.